Eating small meals throughout the day doesn't help with fat loss, but it can definitely help with bulking. If you're bulking, try eating small meals throughout the day. It's so funny how small meals were sold one way, but in reality it actually works a lot better the other way. Because that's where it makes the most sense, right? You're trying to eat, 3,500 calories. That's like, what is that? 1,200 calories a meal or something like that if you eat 3 meals.
Those are huge meals after a while once you're really trying to stack it up.
Yeah, and you get bloated and you feel, digestive issues or whatever. It makes more sense to turn that into like 5 smaller meals. For fat loss, it doesn't really, help that much except for maybe somebody's, behaviors benefiting, but that's also, yes or no sometimes. But when it comes to bulking, I think small meals is kind of a staple, especially when your calories are real high or trying to eat a really high, protein intake.
This was I don't know if you remember when we first started the show, this was my biggest gripe when we would talk about this, right? So obviously you would lead the show with presenting that, the whole small meals myth has been debunked, and there's, whether you eat 1 meal or 2 meal. And I was right in the thick of preparing for bodybuilding shows, and
you're eating like 4,500 calories.
Yeah, and you're literally poking right at me. I'm eating 6 meals a day, and so I'm carrying all this Tupperware around, and so people are probably going like, what the Sal is saying, this small meals thing is ridiculous, and yet here's Adam carrying all this around. And I remember my argument was, dude, try eating 5,000 calories in 2 meals, like just and clean. That's not happening. I don't know anybody that does that. Even some of the biggest bodybuilders that eat tons of food, they just had to portion it out in 6 meals that throughout the day, and even those are decently sized when you're crushing 4,000 or 5,000 calories. So yeah, I have found that the value that, and I will say, the value for someone who's trying to lose weight that I still found in it, even though what the research clearly shows that there is no benefit metabolically to breaking it up over 6 versus 1 or 2 meals. But what it showed clients was portion control, and that part of the weight loss and meal prepping and
there could be some behavior
and discipline, right? And putting it together and preparing it ahead of time.
Yeah, and seeing what 8 grams of protein looks like, and what 40 grams of carbohydrates look like, and getting an understanding of that. Having that many meals consistently prepared and breaking them up, and then you eat that and you're done. You don't just keep eating until you're stuffed. I think that was a good behavioral thing, even for someone who's trying to lose weight.
I mean, you got to admit though, right? For bulking, it's definitely
better.
Way more
far
value.
superior. Yeah,
way more value. I mean, you're trying to eat. If you're a female and you're trying to eat, 140 grams of protein a day, or a man, you're trying to eat 200 grams of protein a day. That's really hard to do in 3 meals. It's super satiating to eat a 50, 60, 70 gram protein, or for women, 35 grams of protein in a meal. That's really tough. But if you break it up into smaller meals, now it's more possible. And that becomes a challenge, right? And I'm kind of going through that right now. I've been kind of on this slight bulk now for a little while. Gut health is still good, so I'm kind of pushing it and see what can happen. And there's no way that I could bulk with 3 meals a day. They would be so big and so uncomfortable, and I'd feel so terrible. Yeah. I have to eat 5 kind of meals a day in order to make this, kind of possible.
Well, the original way they were selling it was very misleading. It was very much like the thermogenic effect of food, and eating these small meals was like stoking the fire, and you would burn, more fat with this type of an approach. And so that's just kind of like the information we got coming up as coaches. And I think that's why initially we were like, okay, we got at least put, an opposite position to this.
Yeah. And it's funny because the bodybuilding space has contributed a lot to the fitness space, because the bodybuilding space was really the first kind of strength space that tried to apply science to nutrition and to dieting, that kind of stuff. And bodybuilders have been eating small meals for a while now. And so what the fitness space did is they took what bodybuilders did. And the reason why bodybuilders did this was exactly what we're talking about. They were eating 4,000 calories a day, 3,500 calories, 5,000 calories.
High calorie meals.
And you got to eat small meals throughout the day to do that, or multiple meals, I should say, more than 3 meals a day in order to make that happen. So what the fitness space did is they took that, and since the average gym, consumer, the average person who wants to work out, not a bodybuilder, but the average person, they're interested in fat loss. They're not interested in building tons of muscle. They're not interested in being shredded on stage. They want to lose weight. So what they did is they took this thing that bodybuilders did, which was they had to do to eat this many calories and grams of protein, and then they twisted it and made up some stuff to sell it to people who want to lose weight, when that's totally false. Behaviorally, it may contribute, and it depends on the person. Because I also know people that small meals hurt them when it came to weight loss, because it was easier for them to not or to skip meals. But when it comes to bulking, I mean, just pragmatically, for a lot of people, it just makes sense. And that's the real application. That's where I think it makes the most sense.